This is the Lockpicker 1969, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to the next episode of Interview with a Lockpicker. Today's guest is Do Not Duplicate. Say hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Going good. I'm actually awake this morning.
That's good.
So where are you from?
I am from Australia and born here, lived here my whole life.
Whereabouts in Australia?
The little known capital city, Canberra, which is in between Sydney and Melbourne.
Oh, okay. So how long have you been, how long and when did you get into locksport?
I first got into locksport probably summer 2018 and started off watching YouTube videos and went from there, I think. So I did have about a year's break while I was in my picking career, but apart from that, I've been pretty solidly uh, interested in locks, fascinated with them, picking them, collecting them, that sort of thing since then.
Okay. So who were some of your influencers on YouTube? Both
Uh, for,
early on and later.
I reckon first one definitely lockpicking lawyer. He was the guy who really got me into it and made me realize that picking locks was something that people did do for a hobby. I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
aware of that until I saw his videos, and of course Bosnian Bill as well. I watched his videos as well. I was watching their videos for some months, I would say, before I ever dared try and pick locks myself, before I ever thought that that was something I could do. And from there, once I got into the community, once I discovered Lockpickers United, of course, and uh, that sort of thing, once I discovered those, I quickly started watching other people's channels, people like Diggs and Norlin, and later on, more recently, watched videos by Ryan. He has one of the best channels, in my opinion, and yeah, it's I think really Norlin and Ryan are the channels I watch the most.
Okay.
I don't watch a lot of videos anymore, but a lot of lock picking videos anymore. Really, it's really just my close friends and people whose channels I think are particularly educational. I think Legend of the Samurai, of course, has
Oh
one of the
yeah.
best
Yep.
educational channels. He really explains, I think, very well what he does and that channel, and all his videos are excellent. And yeah, I think Ryan's channel is a tremendous resource. He has a lot of videos, and not even just picking locks, but I mean just showing you how to reassemble locks. It's been quite handy on a couple of occasions. That's always good.
And of course,
And yeah,
I was gonna,
and I've been yeah.
I was just gonna say, and of course, listening to the interviews, right?
Oh, of course, yes. No. I've listened to a few of them.
All right.
I won't say all of them, but a few of them, yes. I just don't watch a lot of YouTube, but I've
No,
certainly seen a few of them.
I was just kidding with you.
Yeah.
So, at what point in your journey, when you got started, did you pick up your first set of lock picks, and what were
I
they?
think I think it was probably about 2 or 3 months in. It wouldn't have been earlier than that. But when I did, it was the cheapest first thing I could find, which was a Goso set of lockpicks.
Hmm.
They're way too thick, way too fragile, very brittle metal,
Yeah.
no good at all. But that was my first, and pretty much as soon as they arrived, I realized they weren't going to be very good. I did pick a couple of very basic locks, just like the acrylic lock or whatever, with them to start with, and I think I quickly graduated to some Sparrows and Peterson type
Okay.
picks.
What did you pick
Yeah,
up from Sparrows?
I I'm not I don't really remember. It was just a basic set. It was just whatever the basic thing was. I got a few hooks and I got a few rakes, and I quickly realized that the rakes weren't very useful and that they
Hmm.
weren't going to get me into most of the locks I was interested in. So
Yeah.
they did. I think my first successful pick was with a rake, and I was shocked by how quick it was. I was like, "Oh wow, okay." Because when I was watching the videos, right, when I was watching like um, lockpicking lawyer or whatever, I was like, "Oh, there's no way I could do this. This is so hard. It's so skilled. It's this is real professionals. He's obviously really gifted." Or that sort of thing. And it took me a few months before I really thought that I was going to be able to do it. And when I did it, and like even though it was like the crappiest lock imaginable, the clear lock. It just popped open in like 2 seconds flat. I was shocked. I was like, oh wow, I suddenly have this superpower now. I can do this. And I was quickly shut down, of course, when I started trying good locks. And I picked a few, tried to pick a few free cylinders that I had received from locksmiths, because I went around my city and asked locksmiths for free locks, and I got a surprising amount. And I tried picking some of those, and most of them I failed quickly. But once I got some better picks, I found those also opened pretty quickly. So I
I,
was surprised.
I think for me, watching some of these pickers on YouTube early on for me,
Yeah.
watching them pick them so easily and you're struggling them, you're kind of in your head going, "What? You got to make it look that easy."
Oh, it can be disheartening. Definitely.
Yes.
I looked at those, but then I was telling myself as well, though, that those people, they had clearly been doing this for years.
Yeah.
And so, and I obviously in other fields and things I've worked in, I realized that kind of proficiency, it just takes ages to get. You know, I realize that they make it look easy,
So,
but it's not.
what do you use today?
Right now, I use Jimmy Long's picks almost exclusively, and also multi pick for anything where the Jimmys won't do, and I find that's pretty much perfect. I also do have some Moki picks. I have some of the Cabba style ones, the ACAB picks.
Okay.
They're also excellent. And yeah, I mean, really, that's about it for now.
So, you mentioned getting into LPU, and that kind of really helped you get moving along. So
Yes, it did, absolutely.
overall, what has your experience been with the community, and how are you involved with it today?
My experience has been amazingly positive. I think it's been a really supporting thing in my life for the last few years, and it's pretty much everyone you meet on LPU is great. And I've spoken to many people on LPU, and many people who aren't even posting there anymore, of course, because I've been there for years now. And I've made when I returned after my break, I met a whole bunch of new people, and it's been great. It's incredibly helpful, and I'm really blessed to have found the community, Lockpickers United.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you, if you're following LPU, you're following the belt system. First, what belt are you?
Well, I'm a black belt since I think winter
And, yep,
2022,
yep. And what Dan?
21. So, 12th Dan at the moment.
Wow,
Lockpicker.
very
Yeah.
nice. Can you talk about your journey through getting your black belt then?
Yeah, I certainly can. Okay, well, when I started with LPU, it took me 2 or 3 months before I bothered to make a challenge lock. Basically, I just couldn't be stuffed to make a challenge lock. To be frank, when I ended up finally doing it, by that point I'd picked enough locks to be, I think, red belt. Uh, this was about this was probably about 3 months after joining LPU. And so I became red belt at that point. I'd been green up until then because of the challenge lock requirement. So I became red belt. I think I was purple briefly, and then I know I've been every belt except brown. So I became red belt, I think, at that point. About 3 or 4 months in, and then I was red belt for a while, and I kind of burned out, and I was trying too hard to pick a couple of locks. I
Yeah.
was trying very hard to pick the Asa Twin Combi, and I was not getting very far with it. And I burned out, stayed out of picking for probably about a year. Came back during COVID because I was bored. I think a lot of people were, and
Yeah.
they joined at that time. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I came back and I decided that I felt, I don't know, I had big imposter syndrome at that point. I felt pretty awful, like being a red belt when I hadn't picked anything in like a year. And so I decided I would start again. And I went back to white belt and went through it again, slowly at first. And then I was just like, screw it. I might as well just pick the high sec locks again. And so I earned back red belt, that felt very good. I felt more legitimate at that point, and that was probably 2 or 3 months after coming back. And then I pretty quickly became black belt after that. I did had to do a couple of quests. I got a safe cracking and
Cool.
impressioning that I did.
Cool.
Yeah, it was great. It's really fun. The safe I chose poorly for my first safe lock. It was the Lagarde 3330, which is quite difficult actually. It's not an easy beginner's safe lock, but I struggled and I got there with it.
Cool.
I was also given a very unkind bitting for impressioning, but I again struggled through it. It's still the only thing I've impressioned, and got black belt. And from there, I gained Dans pretty quickly because I collect locks, so I have a lot of available material to pick. So there were a few very generous people who lent me locks, and so I've picked as well. And a lot of those locks I now own, but I was lent a lot of locks, and I have picked a lot of locks, and I think I have it's like 1,100 points or something now, which is 12th done. So
wow.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, well, you gotta love the community and helping out with that. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I absolutely couldn't be anywhere near where I am now without the community.
Yeah. So you got your challenge lock done for technically your blue belt requirement, even though you bypassed blue. What was that like?
Yeah.
And how did that impact your involvement with challenge locks afterwards?
Well, I was definitely a bit lazy in making it, like getting around to it. But once I did make it, I had a much higher view of challenge locks and what the process was, and I thought that it was a real learning experience. I definitely learned things making that I wouldn't learn just by picking locks, and so I'm quite happy with that being a requirement, and I was quite happy to have it made, and I was pretty proud of it when I made it. Unfortunately, I don't have that lock anymore. I sent it. I sent the person I sent it to. I don't think they're an active member anymore, and it was sent far away. So I'm probably not going to see that lock again, but that's all right. That's not a problem. It was fun making it, and I think it certainly did help me. I think in progressing, that I knew more about locks after making that than I did.
So, what's your favorite part of making a challenge lock?
Oh, I think it's probably making the pins on the Dremel. You just use the Dremel as a mini lathe, of course. You could just spin up the pin. Yeah, it's pretty fun because the way I was doing it, obviously, it wasn't with a lot of precision, because it was the first time I'd done it. And it was interesting to press the file against the pin and just see how it came out. Sometimes they came out really well, and sometimes they wouldn't. So really it was just throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I ended up with like 20 pins, and I just selected the best ones for the lock.
I understand that completely. There's something therapeutic about sitting down and making pins. I did that yesterday for like 2 hours straight. I use a Dremel multi-vise with the Dremel in it, and I think I punched out probably about 12 or so pins, and I was trying to master recording it also at the same time, so I was kind of doing two things at once, but which is not an easy feat, let me tell you, to accurately
recording stuff makes it twice as hard. Whatever you're doing, you have to record it as well.
Damn it, it's out of focus again.
You're just doing everything through the camera as well.
Yeah. So I definitely understand that. It's extremely relaxing to do, and I enjoy just sitting there doing that part of it too. So since then though, so you've made additional challenge locks, right? So
I have not. That is the only challenge lock I've ever made.
Okay, but you enjoy picking them.
I enjoy picking them a lot more than making them, to be honest.
Okay.
I've picked quite a few challenge locks now. I like to focus on ones that are made by my friends or ones which are particularly infamous. So I've picked a couple by my good friend Gravity Karma, who made them. I think he made one of them specifically for me, and that was extremely difficult. That's one of the most difficult locks I've picked, and I gutted it, and the modifications were very simple. It was a 5-pin lock, but he knew what he was doing, and that's one thing I like about challenge locks. They can be incredibly well made if the person who makes them really knows a lot about locks, and it can be really cool to see what people come up with.
Have you had Jay Gabriel make one for you yet?
Not for me. I think I have picked one of his.
Oh my lord. That man has earned the title of evil genius and mad scientist. So, okay, so
I don't think I gutted it. I'm not sure which one it was. I don't think I gutted it. I'm pretty scared to gut challenge locks because I'm just really afraid that I'm not going to be able to get it back together again, and then that's someone's precious thing that they've made, and then I don't want to damage it.
Yeah, they should have come with warning labels. Warning may explode.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
So, talk to me a little bit about your YouTube channel. So I would imagine, like most people, it started out as you used it for your belt videos, but what did you do with it after that?
It's always been primarily just to post proof videos for me. So I have given it a little bit of branding now, and I've given it the D&D logo and that sort of stuff. But it's not something I've ever really tried to grow or curate for its own sake. I think I have it set up so it looks good. Anyone who goes there can hopefully find the video they're looking for, and it's really just to share with my friends and to have the video proof of what I've done, and occasionally to showcase something that I think is particularly cool. Like a lot of the locks that I like to film are just like the ones that have unique mechanisms or that are rare or something, and it's just fun to show those, and quite often to post the only video available of a certain lock. I've got quite a few videos where that's the only video on YouTube of that lock.
Oh,
it's nice to be. It's just nice to be able to show off something that people maybe haven't seen before, rather than just post like the 100th video of like the same lock that everyone's seen.
Yeah. Well, your last few were those are beautiful locks, by the way.
Oh yeah, thank you. They're some of my favorites, the ones I've picked recently, and they're
I love lever locks, so.
Yeah, no, so do I. All those kind of locks are fascinating. I'm of the opinion that really some of the best locks ever made were made a long time ago and are definitely out of production now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I did a what do you call this old lock episode that covered the history of locks going back to the Egyptian and Mesopotamian times. Yeah. And talked about the mechanisms, but probably one of the interesting periods of time that locks went through was more or less like a Renaissance phase, where it was more about art than it was about function, and some of the most beautiful locks were created during that time. But okay,
oh, absolutely. I mean, it used to be a really like they used to take such pride in what they made, and especially like it was a real skilled trade. It was an art, like they took it so seriously, and they made everything with such pride. Like they have all these like name plaques and things on them that show just how proud they were of these designs and things they came up with.
Animals, mythical creatures, even a lock face would tell a story. Very, very cool stuff. Okay,
absolutely.
So what kind of hobbies do you have other than locksport?
Really, my other main hobby is walking, bushwalking, hiking, getting out and about, because that's something you can do very easily here where I live.
Yeah.
And my state here is a small administrative territory, basically, and it's just surrounded by a national park. So you can get out there and it's great. Go wild. Like, go out in the bush all the time. I've got what goes hand in hand with that is photography. So I do take quite a few photos out there. I've shared some of them. I have more I can share. But yeah, I basically just do bushwalking and stuff. I probably need to do more of it, but I get away when I can, definitely on the weekends and stuff, and do that.
Okay. All right. Last question before we wrap up. What do you do for a living?
Hmm. I fix people's computers and fix people's computer systems. So basically, just IT work. I've been
Okay.
doing that for quite some time now. I've had 2 or 3 different IT jobs now, and that is quite a lot of fun. My latest job is keeping me very busy doing that, and our clients. We have quite a few very important clients that we do this work for, and obviously, as you can appreciate, working in the capital city of Australia, we have a lot of important clients
Mhm.
there who work and are based in this city, and yeah, it's fun work. It's the sort of thing I enjoy the most, which is problem solving, looking into the heart of machines and seeing how they work and fixing them.
Mhm.
And that's something that appeals to me. And yeah, it's something that I enjoy doing every day. So I consider myself pretty lucky to be working in an area that I enjoy.
Okay. Yeah, I've been working in IT for over 35 years. And
Ah,
a
yeah.
lot of my initial starting in IT involved, well, unfortunately, part of it involved being in sales, which I hated. But
Oh, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
definitely got into getting into the guts and working on the internals, and everything's been so virtualized in the cloud these days that
Definitely.
you now have to take what you knew and apply it in your mind as you're working on some of these things in the cloud. So some
Oh, yeah. It seems like everything changes every 5 or 10 years in IT.
oh,
From what I've seen,
I'd even
yeah,
shorten that one up to every 3 or so years. We're in a constant learning curve.
it's
You,
speeding up. Absolutely.
yeah, you just get finished learning about something and something new comes out. This whole AI thing has just gone off the rails these
Yeah.
last 6 months, and yeah, that's been crazy. It's fascinating. Um, I I have been learning so much about AI that it's not funny, but it's
Oh, there's very exciting times ahead, probably sooner than we think for that.
yeah. My biggest focus is on the actual governance of the development of AI. I'm very concerned about making sure that that is in place. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, because that's kind of key. All right.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you'd like to say to our audience before we wrap up?
Uh, Thanks for listening. Thanks for being there for me every time I'm online. Thank you for supporting me, giving me the information that I have now, the giving me the locks that I have now. Of course, it's a great community uh, to talk about locks, sell locks, and I really enjoy uh, talking with everybody in the community. And I've made a lot of friends, and you know who you are, and I am very grateful for everything that this community has given me. And I hope that I can and have given back something in return for that. And I look forward to what's going to come next for us and for me in our community.
Awesome. I want to thank you for the both the interview and the pre-interview. That was a fun conversation. So,
You're very welcome.
and I appreciate you being very flexible, and we completely switched our recording by 12 hours, and you were very accommodating for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries at all. I honestly, this is more convenient. I, I don't know why I didn't set it up for this time to begin with. It's much better.
No problem. I'm an early riser, so. All right.
Yeah,
So, with that, we'll wrap this one up. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you are a subscriber, thank you. If you are not yet a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications and all, and hit like on the video. And thank you for listening.